Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello, my name is Zina Shevchik, and I'll be your host today for our Parenting in the 21st Century program. Today we will be discussing child care issues and trends with Patricia Skinner, Executive Director of the Capital District Child Care Council. Welcome, Patty. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
First thing I'd like to ask you is for you to tell us exactly what the Capital District Child Care Council is. I'm not sure how many of our audience members know about you and your organization.
Well, we are a resource and referral agency, which just means that we're a not-for-profit independent agency, and we're actually located just right up the street from you on 91 Broadway in Menands. And what we do is we help parents. It's a free service. We help parents find child care. Parents can call us if they need options for child care, and our referral counselors will get on the phone with them and they will talk about all the different options that might be available. Plus they'll also give them some tips on what to look for when they're in their child care search. So that's one of the things that we do. We also provide supports to child care providers, whether they are center child care providers or people who take care of children in their homes, family child care providers. Support such as administering the food program. They actually get reimbursement if they serve nutritious meals, and that reimbursement is through us. We have training, all kinds of training that we give, conferences, workshops, other supports for development. If you want to start a family child care business in your home, we provide those supports. So we do a whole myriad of services at our child care resource and referral.
When you said that it was free, does that mean any parent, if they call you, will be able to get advice both over the phone? Do you do in-person interviews with them?
What? Yes, it is free. It's totally free. We do over the phone. That's the bulk of our business is for helping parents is over the phone. We also do online referrals through our website. It's www.cd and then 4cs.org. They can do a search online at any time of the day or night. And then we do have some people who drop by the office and we will help them right there in person.
Do you have something to do with the licensing that goes on with family? I think it's in-home care as well as the more formal, larger daycare facilities?
We do, Zina. We have contracts with Albany and Schenectady and Rensselaer counties, and we actually do the registration. It's called registration when we work with school-age programs and family programs, and we have contracts to go out there and do inspections of the homes to make sure that they're meeting the regulations that are set out by the state.
So people who are looking for child care can ask for what kind of license or what kind of
the programs that are on our database that if a parent would actually call or come by to see us are all going to be registered programs or licensed child care centers. So registered family child care programs or licensed child care centers. We don't list anyone who is who's not registered or licensed.
Right,
so there is a definite comfort level for a parent because they know that these minimum requirements for health and safety regulations and program regulations have been met.
Can you go into a little bit more detail with that about what kind of requirements or training or inspection is involved? Mm-hmm. I know that's something that I probably, when I was looking for preschool child care anyway, I didn't know about, and I didn't really understand what to look for when I was looking for child care. I was looking for an in-home, like family kind of daycare situation. Mm-hmm. And could you talk a little bit about what the advantages are to having someone who's gone through your kind of filtering in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a difficult decision. It is probably one of the most difficult decisions a parent has to make is to put their child into someone else's care. So we're very lucky in the state of New York that we have a system that does assure a level of health and safety to an out-of-care situation. So probably the first thing that parents should look for is that certificate on the wall that says that this program is licensed or registered and that it's a current certificate. So that's the number one thing that you would look for. If you don't see that posted, you would want to ask for that. Beyond that, you want to actually ask some questions of your own. So one of the first things that you would look for when you're going into a licensed or registered facility is looking for the basic health and safety requirements are being met. You're making sure that there is a way out in case of an emergency. You use we call it the eye, ears, nose, and well, probably not the taste test, but the eye, ears, nose test. You're seeing, what does the place smell like? What are you hearing? And when I say smell like, that's probably because I'm somebody who smells things a lot. But does it smell clean? Do you smell odors? Does it smell like it hasn't been, the diapers aren't being changed regularly? You can tell a lot with your senses. You're looking around. You're seeing, is there obvious things that are missing? Are there no fire extinguishers on the walls? Are you looking and seeing outlet covers? Some of the common sense things that you may not think about. Looking at the playground. Oftentimes parents don't look at a playground. What's on the undercovering for the children when they fall? What's the fall perimeter? Are the things, the equipment seem to be in good repair? Are there jagged edges? You know, does it look like it's generally been upkept? So you're looking at those real basic health and safety types of things. Beyond that, you're listening. You're listening for the sound of happy chatter. It shouldn't be a quiet program where you don't hear anything but the teacher's voice or the provider's voice. That's never a good sign, because that means the children are not heard. Now, you shouldn't hear mass confusion either. And I think most of us can tell the difference. So those are some of the things that I think that you're looking for.
What kind of ratio? I vaguely remember, well, I kind of remember in the news in the last 5-10 years about situations in daycare where there weren't enough teachers or caregivers per child. And can you just talk a little bit about that and what you should look for in that kind of?
Yeah, depending on the age group or the age level of the children, the ratios are different. In infant care, in a center, it's like 1 to 4. You should have no more than 4 children for every one caregiver. So, and the group sizes vary too, depending on the number of children and the ages of the children. You can have a group size of, like 12 to 14 if you're in an older age group, but certainly for little babies, you wouldn't want a group size over 4 to 8. So it does vary. All of these things can be accessed on our website, which I referenced before. You can get all the information about ratios, plus we would send that in a parent packet. If they make a referral call or a call for help to us, we send all that information. It's all laid out. It's a little complicated in the sense that it's a chart and it's not complicated to understand, but you want to have that in front of you when you're going to visit a program. And it stands to reason that if you've got much younger children, the ratio should be less and the group size should be less. As you've got older children, they can stand a little less individual attention.
Right. Okay, so you have both a website and people can call you, and toward the end of this interview, I'll let you again give that information for anybody in our audience who would like to contact you. Would you talk a little bit about child care in the Capital Region and maybe how it's changed or where you see it going? I think when we spoke before this interview, you talked about an annual report that was just coming out that gave some statistics. And
yes,
so,
the picture.
Right, and we'll display that in a little bit.
Right.
But would you talk a little bit about that in the Capital Region, what's happening?
I think in the Capital Region, what we're seeing, when we did our assessment, and we're calling it a picture of child care in the Capital District, and we do this on an annual basis, and I think what we're seeing is that As new businesses come into our area, and as we become Tech Valley, and we bring more young workers into our region, we are seeing an influx of people with needs for infant care. So we see a shortage of infant care in our area. We're also seeing a shortage of after-school care. This has been a trend that's been around for quite a while. One of the reasons for infant care shortages is because of the ratios that you were just talking about before. It's more expensive to staff for infant care than it is to staff for 3- and 4-year-olds because of the ratios. So if you have to pay more staff, then it's going to cost the program more money. Unfortunately, the true cost of care really can't be charged to parents because they couldn't afford it. It would be upwards to $500 to $600 a week for child care, and right now it's very expensive. So it's not a cost that parents can bear. No salaries, no matter how much you make, can really support that. So we are seeing that type of an issue. That is a trend. That hasn't changed too much in the last several years. I think what's changed from when I had a young child and was looking for care is that there are more. It's the majority of families have children in care at a much younger age, as opposed to it was a minority before. I think it's upwards to 56% of working moms, parents, have their children in child care at infancy, as opposed to what it was back in when it was maybe 20 to 30%, maybe even 20 years ago.
Is that a local figure or is that a national?
Our local figures are very much in line with the national figures.
Okay, so we're kind
right
of
on target.
Average then.
We are.
Do you see any of that changing in the future? I mean, when you talk about, when you must discuss this with, I assume, your funding agencies as well as your training, what are you anticipating in the future? Do you think that there's going to be more need? Do you think for what? Do you think most people calling or accessing your website want information on in-home care? Are they just looking for any care? Do you think that the funding sources are liable to get better, or is it going in the other direction, or do you know?
Well, we're hoping that the funding sources will get better for parents. Right now, for parents who require subsidy for their child care, there are two funding sources. One is through their individual counties that they have subsidies for parents, and the other is through the Workforce Development Initiative that's available. And that's for people who you make a little bit more money than they can to qualify for the actual subsidy from the county, but they don't really make enough to be self-supporting in terms of child care. So there's a little bit additional money for that. And those are things that we send information to parents all the time about those subsidies.
So you are the source of information about support, financial support. No, that's fantastic.
So that's a help. But for a lot of upper middle class families, it still takes a huge bite out of their check every day. This is something that we're working on, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this when we were talking earlier, Zina, but one of the initiatives that myself and our Child Care Council has been involved in is a quality rating system. I talked to you about that?
I don't remember that.
This is a group of early childhood advocates that have come together across the state and have been meeting for about a year and a half. And this would greatly affect parents. A quality rating system would be a system that would be in place to actually rate. A lot of other states have this. They rate child care facilities.
Okay.
So that parents would be able to go to a rating system that would be publicized, and we would publicize it on our information too. And it would be maybe a star system. That's kind of what we're thinking in terms of. So if they wanted to find 3-star centers or 4-star centers, get the 3 and the 4 the best centers or the best facilities, they would be able to find what they are because it would have been rated already.
That sounds fantastic. Well, because I know when you choose a hotel, there's usually
same life.
And so it would have to do with quality in terms of
Quality and
staffing?
Everything. There are systems out there. We have at our fingertips systems to rate quality in terms of program administration, in terms of in child environments. So we have well-known tools, known tools to us as child care professionals, but they're not easily accessible or easily usable by a parent alone. To be able to go in and say, well, I'm going to use this tool and I'm going to rate the center. It's too overwhelming and it's too much to expect with parents' busy lives. But if we could do it for them and then publicize this rating, they wouldn't have to do any more than to go in and, obviously they still have to look and visit and see for themselves. But to have this as a starting point?
Right, it's just that much more information to help people. That sounds wonderful. How do you publicize your organizations and its services? I mean, I have to be frank with you in that I don't get a feeling that a lot of people know about your services and you as a resource.
Well, and that's why I'm so grateful for this opportunity, because the more we can get our information out and publicize us to the community, we're there to be used.
Right.
And it's something that's being supported and it's free, so we want to be used. Well, as you can imagine, as a not-for-profit, we don't have a big budget to be putting commercials out over the airwaves, but we go to community fairs, we drop off information, we send them out to our local government agencies so that they can give it to parents who are looking for childcare. You know, we try to look at all the creative and clever ways that we can get information out.
Well, I do want to say, and I told you this when we spoke off camera, is that your website, I think, is fantastic. And I met the staff member who, at your organization, at your facility, who was in charge of the website, and I found it very easy to use.
Good.
And so I just want to mention that, because some people are intimidated by the internet and the websites,
right.
and I just think it was wonderful.
Thank you.
What is your background and what is your job? And after that, and your staff, because when I visited your facility, you were introducing me to many different people who did many different kinds of jobs. And at that time, you also told me they were funded differently as well. So I'm going to leave it to you here.
Well, my background is I graduated with expecting to be an elementary school teacher. So, and that was in long time ago. And I never became an elementary school teacher. You know, things happen. And moved around with my husband and so forth. And our daughter was about 2 or 3 years old, and somebody said to me, well, would you be interested in coming and teaching preschool at our church preschool in the basement there where we did it? You know, we were living in the Midwest at that time. And I said, oh, sure, how hard could it be to teach young children? 3- and 4-year-olds, it would be a piece of cake, right? Well, my eyes were opened, and I found out that it was an extremely difficult job. What I like to say is the hardest job you'll ever love. And I got into it and found out that I needed to know an awfully lot more than what I knew. So I gradually I took my little bachelor's of elementary education and thought I need something more than this. So as I began to teach more and continued to teach at early childhood and then went to another program and so forth, I began to take classes in master's classes in early childhood, and I found out, wow, this is quite the profession. So it was interesting to continue to do that, and became a director of a center. Usually if you are a good teacher, they make you a director. I don't know exactly if there's a reason for that or not, but I became a director of a center. And then when we moved here in 1989, I became a director of a local center here, actually up in Saratoga County. Enjoyed doing that and did that for about 5 years. And then the opportunity came up at the Child Care Council. At that time, the Child Care Council was pretty small. There were, I think, maybe 15 of us, as opposed to the 45 that are there now. And I came on as an educator, and I went out to all the different programs in the Capital District, all 4 counties, and helped them with their information and helped them with training and providing resources and so forth. And along the line, you know, took a class here and a class there. And then I became the director of operations at the Child Care Council under the executive director. And then I found out that I really, really did need to know more. So I went to the College of St. Rose and worked part-time to get my master's degree in early childhood, which was a huge learning experience, a very good program, and it just helped me enormously. And then our current director, then current executive director, retired in May of 2005, and the board did a search and selected me as executive director. So I've been there a really long time, but I've been there in different functions. So it's changed. My job has changed from direct service, which is out training and working with providers and trying to make the changes and help them see the changes that need to be made, to, as executive director, being almost like the pulse taker of the organization. So my job is to go around to all these myriad of programs that you were talking about and help them with do grant writing and make sure that the funds are secure, and then do the reporting, do the contacts, making sure that each of those programs are humming. I guess I like to think out about like that. So I'm going around taking the pulse. How you doing? Is everything going well? What do we need to do differently? How do we need to report this differently? How do we need to access more funds so you can do the job better? So that's what I do as executive director.
Would you talk a little bit about your staff? I don't mean the 45. I mean maybe more definitively or more clearly about each program. Like as I said, there was one person there who did the website, and is there someone there who's just in charge of like the nutrition education and that kind of thing? Someone in charge of that. That's how it's divided.
It's divided, and we spoke a little bit about the registration services. So we have a fairly big team. It's 10 people that actually work on the registration services. That's into family child care homes and school age programs. So that's a big team. And then we have our referral department. Those are the people that you would, if the parent called, they would talk to them. We do have a registered dietitian now. It's a brand new program, and it's called Eat Well, Play Hard in Child Care Settings. And in the Capital District, they go, this particular woman goes to the child care setting and helps the teachers, parents, and children with understanding what healthy nutrition is and understanding what exercise and activity can do for you. So this is huge.
It is, given what they're calling a crisis in obesity and in our whole nation now. So that's it. Obviously, it should start in the early years. So that's wonderful.
Because giving this information and helping them to make it part of their lifestyle, and then the connection between home and center is so very important. So that's been a great program. We've just started that last year in the spring, and that's been a wonderful program. Plus, having a registered dietitian on staff also helps to, she can use her services, and we can get those, that information from her and bring that into sites maybe that we aren't particularly working on with that particular grant, but we can also use that information in our newsletter and on our publications, so it's really helpful.
Right. I don't want you to leave without talking about what I found was the most interesting part of your facility, which is the toy lending library.
Right.
So it was just terrific to walk through your facility, and then all of a sudden seeing these yellow and blue and red toys just on big display against one whole wall. So maybe just talk about that.
In fact, we had a gentleman, right before I left, we had a gentleman come in to drop, we have people who drop by to bring paperwork or so forth, and he came in and I was showing him to where he needed to go. And he walked by the toy library and he said, "What are all these toys doing here? Aren't there any kids here to play with them?" And I said, "Well, no, they actually go out to the children." But it is a kind of a unique function, and of course, you being in the library, I said,
the lending business.
In the lending business, as we say. So I said, it's like a library, but it's with toys. So anyone who is a member, and we have members who support the work of the council, part of their membership benefit is to be able to come and access these toys. And they can come in and they can take out, I don't know, I used to know, I think it was, you could take out 4 big toys and 3 big books, or there's a number that you can take out. And they can use them for a month in their program. and then they bring them back. And it's great, because if you're a fledgling program that's starting up, whether it's a center or a family, then you want to be able to use certain materials, but yet you don't want to maybe make that purchase or that outlay of resources before you find out if it's really going to work with your program.
Right.
So
I was
very
impressed that there were some big, large toys. They weren't just all little tiny toys. There were a lot of big toys
Oh,
there
Zina,
as
we
well.
used to have, the big castles that people
Yes.
have in their backyard? We
Yes.
used to have castles that people would have to bring, like a minivan, to bring the castle home, and then they would bring it back. We'd had some huge things. Kind of run out of space as we've gotten a little bit more crowded, but we still have an awful lot accessible, which
It
is
looked
great.
wonderful. It brought a smile to my face when
Yeah.
I saw it. Before, we have just a few more minutes, but I want to make sure that before we end, that you give all the information that you need or people need to get in contact with you. I see that you have a variety of information here, and what we'll do is display it at the end of the program.
Great.
But I would like you just to recite your phone numbers, your address, your website slowly, so people can get it as well.
All
So,
right.
because it's such a fantastic resource and service, and as I said, I really don't think that as many people as could use this service know about it. So,
Wow.
if you would just go ahead and
Absolutely. Well, we are the Capital District Child Care Council, and we're at 91 Broadway in Manans. It's 12204 if anybody wanted to write us. But the best way, obviously, to get in contact, if they're at all computer literate, is to get onto our website, which is www.cd, and then it's 4 C's, not 2 or not 3, because if you want, you have to get the 4 C's in there, and then it's .org. So, and then all of our information is out there and available for anybody to use. Our telephone number to call, it's the local 518 area code, 426-7181. And then if they call that number, we have a receptionist who will answer if she's not there. It goes into a menu, but they can always dial 327. That's my extension. And I will answer the phone, and I will direct them to whatever it is that they need to get to.
Now, you also have, there are other offices. You mentioned at the beginning of the
Yes.
program. First of all, you serve Albany, Rensselaer, Schenectady, and Saratoga counties.
That's right.
All right, and I assume that, am I correct that there are services like this in most counties? Is it a New York State?
It's a New York State network. There are 41 CCR&Rs. So, but some take care of one county, some take care of, we're one of the larger ones because we take care of 4 counties, serve 4 counties. But there are neighboring CCR&Rs if they're, Schoharie County has a CCR&R, and there's one in Fulton, Montgomery, and some of our neighboring organizations. So like I say, it depends on the way the CCR&R is set up.
But you also have offices, am I
Yes,
right? There's
we
one
do.
in Schenectady?
We have a Schenectady office on Erie Boulevard. That's a small office and training room. And then we have a training center that we just do our training, and that's right down the road from us in Manans, 319 Manans.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and talking about what I think is a vital service and resource. Having been, in the situation where I needed childcare, it would have been wonderful to know about your service. So thank you very much,
Well,
Patty.
thank you, Zina. It was just lovely being here.
Thank you for being with us, and hope you'll come again and to see our next Parenting in the 21st Century program. Hopefully, will be a monthly series. Thank you very much.